Hello, everybody, and welcome back to British English Pod with me, Lewis. It's a pleasure to have you back, and I hope you're having a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening up until now. In my case, it is 2:30 when I'm recording this, and it's pretty hot. It's boiling. It's roasting. It's sweltering. It's sizzling. It seems that summer is here. It has come and it's here to stay. Because right now it's 30 degrees, and I know what you might be thinking. If you're from a really hot place or hot country, if you live in India or Iran or the south of Spain or other places like this where in summer the temperature can reach 40 or 45 degrees, you must be thinking, Lewis, come on, get a grip, pull yourself together. 30 degrees? It's not that hot. You're fine. You're over exaggerating. And yeah, you're probably right. But I'm going to explain why it feels very hot. Because, first of all, I'm English. I'm not used to hot weather. For us in summer, the maximum is about 30 degrees. And generally speaking, in summer in the United Kingdom, it's around 20 degrees every day. But that doesn't mean that it's sunny every day. Most days it's cloudy, or it'll be like spitting or drizzling. And then we have these mini heat waves when for a week or maybe a couple of weeks, it might be in the high 20s or perhaps 30 degrees. But this is not the norm. It's not normal at all. And I'm not in the UK at the moment. I'm in Belgium, but the weather is practically the same in Belgium as it is in the south of England. Maybe in Belgium it's slightly hotter, but the difference is minimal. Maybe 1 or 2 degrees. That's it. But in my flat, I don't have air conditioning, and it's very wooden. There are lots of wooden planks. It's an old-fashioned building that really keeps the heat inside. And I'm on the top floor as well. So, as you know, heat rises. And then when I want to record content, I need to close all of the doors and windows because if not, you might hear the traffic and people speaking. And I don't want you to be annoyed by all of this background noise. So yeah, it's hot, and if you catch me sweating throughout this video podcast, you know why. Because it's boiling, it's sizzling, it's roasting. Whew. It's a bit hot. But hey, I'm not complaining, I promise. Because after I record this podcast, I'm going to quickly edit it, I'm going to make the thumbnail, and I'm going to upload it to YouTube and Spotify, and then I'm going to go out. Because if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I organize my schedule in a certain way, which means that from Monday to Wednesday, I teach a lot of classes and I'm really busy. But then Thursdays and Fridays, I have the afternoon off. Not exactly off though, because I don't teach on Thursday and Friday afternoons, but I am always working. Right now, this counts as work, obviously. And other things that I need to do, like preparing PDFs or planning stuff, doing some admin, that's work as well. So right now it is Thursday afternoon at 2:30, more or less. And because it's a beautiful day, I want to take advantage of the good weather. So about 4 o'clock, I'm going to go out for a nice walk. I'm going to sunbathe at the same time, wear my sunnies, my sunglasses, and yeah, soak up the sun. And I love hot weather, but genetically, I'm not very well prepared for it. Imagine when I used to live in Seville, where it's consistently 40 degrees day after day. Oh, I was melting, literally. My body was like turning into part of the street, melting into the pavement. But yeah, sun is good and it cheers me up, so I'm in a good mood. But let me know, are you in a good mood today? And what's the weather like? Is it also boiling? Is it hotter than it is here in Belgium? Or is it nice and cool? Maybe you're based in the southern hemisphere, and as a result, it's winter over there. Perhaps it could happen. I'm looking at you Argentinians, you Chileans, South Africans, Australians, and New Zealanders. It might be a little bit cool where you are. But anyway, enough of that warm up and chit chat. Let's get into today's topic. And the topic is focused on grammar that I personally love, but I'm going to be making it fun and engaging through the usual conversation questions. So it's all about conditionals. You know that. You've seen the title. But this is a review going over all of the conditionals in English. And we have, well, 5 conditionals, let's say. The first conditional is the zero conditional, which is when you have present simple and present simple. So an example would be that if you heat ice, it melts. It's like a scientific fact. If one thing happens, another thing happens. That's it. Easy peasy. Then conditional number 1, the first conditional, is to speak about future possibilities. And we make it by using the present simple and the future simple. So if it rains, I will put on a raincoat or carry an umbrella. So this is to speak about the future for things that are possible and likely. Then moving on to the third one, which is the second conditional. And this is to speak about hypothetical scenarios, unreal situations. And it is made using the past simple and then would, could, or might as well. A classic example is, if I won the lottery, I would buy a house. Lovely. That's probably maybe the most common one. At least in my case, I ask a lot of hypothetical scenarios. And then a tricky one is the third conditional. And it's less common, and it can be a bit of a mouthful to get out, because it is with the past perfect and then would have past participle. This might sound like a lot of gibberish, and you've got no idea what I'm saying. I apologize if so. We're going to get to the talking in a second. But this would be to speak about the opposite of what happened in the past. So it's commonly used when we're discussing regrets or things that we would have liked to have happened in the past. For example, I went to university in Liverpool, but if I hadn't gone to university in Liverpool, I would have gone in Manchester. So if I hadn't gone to uni in Liverpool, I would have gone to Manchester. It's tricky, I admit it. And then last but not least is mixed conditionals. And basically, you can combine maybe a bit of the second conditional and the third conditional. An example of this would be that if I had won the lottery 10 years ago, I would be rich. Because here we have a combination of the third conditional and the second conditional. That's a classic mixed conditional. So we don't have to be so anal and uptight about the conditionals. In some cases, we can mix and match. All right. Was that clear? You know, I'm not reading anything right now. I'm looking at myself as I record this. I do have a PDF, but, conditionals. I like them. I get excited when I teach conditionals. And I've been a teacher for a long time. I've been teaching English grammar for the last 10 years. Yeah, for a decade. So I had to study conditionals when I became a teacher because, well, we don't learn them as native English speakers. We're not taught this English grammar, at least not evidently, not obviously at school. So you only get to grips with these words and phrases when you start teaching it. And as they say, what was the phrase? It's on the tip of my tongue. You only know something properly when you're able to teach it. It's something like that. But do you know what I mean? If you're able to teach something, that is when you really confirm and realize that you are an expert in something. So, I would say I'm an expert in the English language. Let me know if you agree. I hope I am. I hope I'm not a fraud. But anyway, enough of me nattering on, enough of me chitting and chatting. Let me share my screen now, and you might be able to see it's just a very basic PDF, and we have lots of random conversation questions for each conditional. And I'm going to choose a few of these questions at random, and I'm going to answer them. So, for example, let's start with number 1. What happens if you don't eat breakfast? Well, of course, it depends. But if you don't eat breakfast, you get hungry. Present, present. Let's do some more. If it rains, what usually happens to traffic? Well, if it rains, traffic usually becomes intense. If it rains, there are traffic jams. Present, present. Let's do another one. Number 8. If you drink coffee at night, can you sleep? No, no way. If I drink coffee at night, I can't sleep. There is no chance in hell I'm able to sleep after having a coffee at night. I always make sure that I have my last coffee around about 12 o'clock. Maybe 1, or maybe later if it's a weekend and I'm planning on going out partying. But during the week, I try to take care of myself and get to bed early. It's true that last night I didn't go to bed until like 1 o'clock, so I'm feeling the effects at the moment. But generally speaking, I avoid having coffee after 2 o'clock because if I drink coffee at night, I can't sleep. I can't get 40 winks. To get or catch 40 winks is to sleep. Okay, another one. Number 11. If someone smiles at you, what do you do? If someone smiles at me, I smile back at them. Maybe if someone smiles at me, I wave to them. That's what you should do, I think. As long as it's not a creepy smile, I think we should all try to smile back at the people who smile at us. It's just being a nice guy, isn't it? And, number 13. What happens if you don't water plants? If I don't water plants, they die. Unless it rains a lot and the plants are outside, then they might survive and thrive. But generally speaking, if they are inside, if you don't water plants, they die. They dehydrate, and then they shrivel up and get all small. So we'll move on now to the first conditional, because the 0 conditional, it's pretty easy. if you ask me. It's just present, and it's to speak about if one thing happens, another thing happens. It's pure science, basically. But with the first conditional, it's similar, but it's not to speak about general things. It's to speak about more specific things referring to the future. Let's have a look at an example. Number 2, if you get the job, how will you celebrate? Imagine I've applied for a job and then I really want this job. Well, if I get the job, I'll go out all night and I'll have a bottle of champagne and I'll call all of my friends and I'll be like, hey, Tom, you coming out? I got the job. Let's have some beers. Or maybe if I wanted something a little bit more chilled, I might call my girlfriend and be like, you won't believe what happened. They offered me the job. I got the job. So if I get the job, I will celebrate. And with my girlfriend, maybe we'd go out for a nice meal. And I'd be like, listen, we can go to a Michelin star restaurant tonight. It's on me. I've just got the job. Come on. Okay, let's keep going. Another example. Number 5. If you go to the party, who will you talk to? Let's imagine there is a party tonight, and if I go to the party, I will talk to the people that I recognize, and I'll talk to the people I already know, because it's easier to do that, and that way I don't have to go out of my comfort zone. I can just have a chat with the people I know, catch up with them. I can ask them like, hey, how's life? Long time no see. What's new? And then they might respond being like, oh, life's good, mate. Yeah, where have you been? I haven't seen you in ages. So if I go to a party, I will speak to the people I already know because I can get a bit nervous and anxious about speaking to people I don't know. It's silly. It shouldn't happen. But when I'm out in my social life, I prefer to stick to the people that I know best. Yeah, I think I'm an introvert, really. Another question. Continuing with tonight. Number 7. What will you do if your plans change tonight? So right now, my plan tonight is to stay at home, make a Caesar salad because a salad is always nice and tasty and refreshing and cool when it's hot outside. We had some beers last night, so we're going to stay in for sure. But if my plans change tonight, I will go to the cinema. Why not? Going to a cinema is always a nice plan, in particular if it's really cold outside and... No, sorry. I take it back. In particular if it's really hot outside, because cinemas always have air conditioning, and you always get some refreshments. You get some drinks, some nice cold drinks with lots of ice. So if my plans change tonight, I think I'll go to the cinema and watch a film. I haven't been to the cinema for ages, so that could be a good thing to do. Yeah, why not? Let's go to the cinema. Or as I'd say in American English, the movies. We can go to the movies. And, number 12. If someone invites you on a last-minute trip, will you go? Again, it's Thursday today. And if someone invites me and sends me a message right now and says, Lewis, let's go away from the weekend. Honestly, I don't think I will go. I think I'd say, mate, sorry. You've got to let me know in advance. I can't drop everything right now. It's almost Friday and you want to go on a holiday tomorrow? You're crazy. You're mental. So I'd probably turn down the offer. I'd reject or decline the offer. And I'd say, sorry, mate, not right now, but maybe next weekend or maybe next month. if you're up for it then, I'd be more than happy to. Why not? So yeah, if someone invites me on a last-minute trip, I won't go, honestly. I don't think I will go. And one more with the first conditional. Number 18. What will happen if you forget your password? This happens a lot, actually. So, if I forget my password, I will click on the button which will say, forgot your password, and then I will have to enter my email address. Maybe I'll have to answer a security question as well. Then I will receive an email, and that email will give me a code, maybe a temporary password, which I can enter in order to be able to change my password again. So, yeah, if I forget my password, I will click on the button to request a replacement password to get another one, so that way I'm still able to access my account. And this happens a lot. I have some passwords that I change regularly, and I have other passwords that they're always the same. And the ones that I change regularly, I never take notes. I never think, Lewis, you're probably going to forget in the future, so you should write down this password. But I don't do it. I don't do it. I'm a disaster. So then, in the end, I forget the password and I run the risk of being locked out. And that would be a nightmare. So we're going to try to avoid that at all costs. Okay, now second conditionals. Remember, these second conditionals are for hypothetical or unreal scenarios. Past simple and then would. These are the ones that are a little bit more interesting to answer, along with the third conditionals. So number 1, what would you do if you won £1 million? I wish this could happen. If only I could win £1 million. My life would be sorted. But no, I don't buy lottery tickets, so there's no chance of it ever happening. But if I won £1 million, like I said earlier, I would first of all buy a house, because I'm not a homeowner at the moment, and it's something that I would like to change in the near future. So I'm trying to save money at the moment in order to buy a house and, get a mortgage, pay the down payment. But there is a housing crisis in many countries all over the world, I think. So the first thing I would do is I would buy a house, probably a relatively small flat, and it would probably be in Seville, which is where I see myself in the future. So I'd buy a flat in the city centre for about half of the money. So I'd spend about £500,000 on a good flat in a good location in Seville. Then with the rest, I think I'd give my family maybe, I'm not sure, a little bit of the money. Let's say 100,000 to split up between my sister, my mum and dad, my cousin maybe. So I'd give them a little bit of something, or I would organize a big holiday with my family and I'd pay for their holiday as well. So that would be an alternative way of spending this money for my family. And aside from that, honestly, it might sound a little bit boring, but I think I'd invest quite a lot of the money in the stock market. I think I'd invest money in the stock market because it's usually proven that if you invest in low risk index funds or ETFs on the stock market using applications, you get a return of maybe 5% per year, which if you add it up over time, 5% of £400,000 is a lot of money. How much money is it? Let me think. I believe that would be like 20,000 per year. So that's basically what I earn at the moment per year. So I wouldn't need to work, or I wouldn't need to stress out about money anymore. So maybe I'm boring. Perhaps I'd go on some cool holidays as well, but that's what I'd do. If I won £1,000,000, I'd buy a flat in cash, no mortgage. I'd give some money to my family, maybe my friends, and the rest I would invest it in the stock market, perhaps with the advice of a specialist, and just keep that money making more money. I'm a responsible guy, aren't I? So smart. All right, another question. Number 4. If you had a time machine, where would you go? So if I could travel in time, and if I had a time machine, what I would like to do, I think, is... Well, there's a film, a British film. It's really cool. I think the name is In Time. Let me just double check. Yeah. No. Which one is it? I'm having a look. In Time, British film, rom-com. It's About Time. Okay. About Time. That's it. So there is a film called About Time, and it's British, but there are also a couple of characters from the United States. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, I think what I would do is be able to relive certain moments of my life. So let's say I have a really good day, a really memorable day. Then what I would do is, at the end of the day, go to my time machine and go back in time in order to relive this moment. And this is something that in the film About Time, which I strongly recommend, they end up doing in order to be able to make the most of life and enjoy the beautiful things in life. Not necessarily to change what you did, but to relive it and really, I guess, squeeze the most out of what life can offer. So, if I had a time machine, I would relive every day of my life, or at least I would relive all of the fun and exciting days of my life where I make memories with my loved ones, because the first time you'd do it naturally, and the second time you'd know exactly what's going to happen during the day, and you could take everything with a pinch of salt. You wouldn't take anything too seriously. You wouldn't get too stressed out about any of these things because, you've already been through it. So that's what I'd do. And let me know if you've watched this film, About Time. It's a classic. I'm not usually into rom-coms, but this one is a really good one, and it's British, so I reckon you'll like it. Okay, next. Number 6. If you could have any job, what would it be? Well, I think this is obvious. I love my job, and I've worked hard to make sure that I love my job, but I wouldn't be an English teacher if I could have any job. No, I'd be a footballer. Duh. So, I think most guys' dream, since they're young, is to be a professional footballer. At least it was for me. It was never realistic, but I wish I could have been a footballer. And notice that I say this in the past because I'm 32 now. For most footballers, this is the end of their career, which I suppose is the downside. This is the sad thing about being a footballer, because you're forced to retire at a very early age. But it would still be my dream. If I could win the World Cup with England, or I could win the Premier League with Leeds United and lift the trophy in front of hundreds of thousands of fans, maybe millions of fans, it'd be so cool. you would feel like you are on top of the world. So that would be it, for sure. No doubt about it. Good. Okay, another one. For example. All right, number 12. If you had to live on a desert island, what 3 things would you take? Let's assume that you don't have electricity and you don't have Wi-Fi, so I'm not going to take my phone or my laptop or anything like that because it wouldn't work. So we can already rule these things out. We can discard them. So what I would take, well, a book would be cool, and you could also burn a book if you need fire, but then that kind of, is a bit of a waste of a book. And because I don't usually read, maybe that wouldn't be the most important thing. But I need to think in survival mode. So bearing in mind the fact that I might be there forever, I might have to hunt and fish and do all of these things, I would take, first of all, a knife, some kind of army knife, maybe a Swiss army knife, because it's very versatile and it's very useful for many different reasons. Above all, to be able to make a fire and to hunt and to fish. So that'd be one thing that I would take. Another thing that I would take would be, I think I'd take some kind of, a tent. I don't know if this is possible or not, but I'm in charge here. I'm making the rules. So I'd take a little tent, one of those portable ones. So that way, during the day when it's really hot, I'd be able to get shelter inside and not burn my skin constantly. But at night as well, I'd be able to sleep in the tent, knowing that no creepy crawlies and bugs or reptiles would be able to attack me or to, bite me or sting me in the night. So a knife, a tent, and then the other thing that I would take, I'd need something to keep my mind busy. But what could it be? I need something for entertainment. If you're with other people, a good idea would be to take a pack of cards. But if I'm on my own, then what's the point? I couldn't do anything with it. Other stuff that you could do on your own would be maybe, well, I could take a ball. A ball could be cool, and I could play with the ball. But the possibilities are kind of limited. So, okay, I've got it. I have never been surfing in my life, but if I'm on a desert island, I think I would take a surfboard. Because if I took a surfboard with me, then I'd be able to learn how to surf, and this would help me if I wanted to go fishing as well. So, it's perfect. Good. All right, I've got it. I would take a Swiss Army knife, a tent, and a surfboard. Done. What about you? What would you take if you were stranded on a desert island? What would you take with you? Let me know in the comments. Now, how about we move on to third conditionals? And remember that third conditionals are made using the past perfect and then would have past participle. And it is to speak about the opposite of what really happened in the past. So usually to speak about regrets or, an alternate universe. So let's find some conversation questions that actually make sense. For example, Number 3. If you had gone to bed earlier last night, would you feel better today? Aha. This is a trick question because it's actually a mixed conditional that we'll get onto later. So, ChatGPT, you failed again. See? This is why we cannot trust AI completely. Because this is not a third conditional. It's a mixed conditional. Because would you feel is speaking about the present rather than the past. So let me show you other ones using the third conditional. Number 4. What would have happened if you hadn't met your best friend? I met my best friend at primary school, so we go way back. We've known each other for ages. But if I hadn't met him, then maybe I wouldn't have met other friends either. Because through our friendship, we were able to connect with other people and other groups. So if I hadn't met my best friend, I would have had a completely different friendship group. And you are who you hang out with. I firmly believe that if you hang out with people who are very ambitious, intelligent, and they want to achieve their goals, this will rub off on you and it will have an effect on you. So you will, to a certain extent, become more similar to them. So I don't know what friendship group I would have hung out with and I would have met and I would have integrated in, but maybe they'd have been a bad influence. So in that case, perhaps if I hadn't met my best friend, I would have started hanging out with people who weren't a positive influence on me, and then maybe I would have gone to jail. Maybe I would have ended up in prison. And with the third conditional, we can continue to make these scenarios. So if I had ended up in prison, I would have been killed. And if I had been killed, my mum would have cried. And if my mum would have cried, that would have made my dad really sad as well. I think and hope my dad would have cried as well. All right, I can do some more of these, but let's look at another question. Okay, number 8. If you had learned to play an instrument, which one would it have been? If I had learned to play a musical instrument when I was growing up, I think it would have been the guitar, the electric guitar. Because again, some of my mates play the guitar, so I would have been able to fit in with their group and join in with them. I would have been able to participate with them. So if I had learned a musical instrument when I was younger, I would have chosen the electric guitar because it's cool, you know? Rock and roll. I think it would have been a good option. Perfect. Another question. Let's keep going. Okay, I'm going to change number 12 because number 12 is if you had moved abroad, how would your life have changed? In my case, I've been abroad for the last 10 years, longer even. So if I hadn't moved abroad, if I hadn't gone to Spain when I graduated university, I think I would have met an English girl and I would have started a relationship with an English woman. And then I wouldn't have improved my Spanish. Maybe I wouldn't have become an English teacher because it's not such a common job and profession to do unless you are abroad. So if I hadn't moved to Spain, I probably would have ended up with an English girlfriend, and then I doubt I would have become an English teacher. So imagine, things could have been so different. Thankfully, I did move to Spain. So I think I made the right choice. Another one. Number 19. If you had invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago, how would your life look now? Again, this is another mixed conditional. We can change it to a third conditional. So if I had invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago, I would have made so much money because Bitcoin 10 years ago was worth nothing. And now every Bitcoin is worth 90,000 euros, something like that. So my life would look very different. If I had invested £1,000 in Bitcoin 10 years ago, I would have become a millionaire, literally. So if only I had known. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, but I didn't know, it didn't happen. So what are you going to do? We move on. We keep going. Okay, so that was a little bit of a mixed conditional, even though I answered it in the third conditional. But that's a perfect way of connecting this to some more mixed conditionals. How about this one? Number 3. If you had been born in another country, how would your life be different? If I had been born in, let's say, the United States, my life would be very different. Because you know how a lot of people live in the US, that they have bigger houses, bigger cars, bigger everything, to be honest, and bigger meals. So if I had been born in the US, I probably would have got fat. Now, if there are any Americans watching this, just don't take it to heart. Don't take it seriously. I'm just generalizing. It's a stereotype. Of course, I know you're not all fat. But in my case, given that I love eating, if I had been born in the US, I think I would be fat right now because I'd find it hard to control the portions that I have. And if all of the portions are bigger, then I'm gonna eat more because I don't like to leave any food on my plate. So if I had been born in the US, I would be fat now. And if I had been born in the US, well, if I got injured or if I got sick, I would need to pay so much money because there's no public health. So unless I had a really good health insurance policy, I would need to pay a lot of money to have an operation, let's say. The American dream, eh? Okay, another one. Which one should I choose? Number 9. Let's do this one. If I had moved to London, would I be happier now? I've never lived in London, even though I'm English. It is common for a lot of people to move to the big city, to the capital, because there are more opportunities in London than elsewhere in the UK. And for a moment, I did consider moving to London, but never that seriously. I was much more drawn to the idea of being abroad rather than going to London because I had heard about how expensive London was, and being from the north of England, we've got a little bit of a rivalry, and we don't want to say that London is better than anywhere in the north, but it is. Obviously, it's bigger, richer, more history, more art, more everything. But I didn't want to admit that. So, if I had moved to London, I don't think I'd be happier now. But wait, if I had moved to London and I had got a good job, then I think I might be happier. But you know what they say? Money doesn't buy happiness. So perhaps living in such a big city like London, I'd be more stressed because there are more people. There's more traffic. There's more noise. There's more pollution. So I'm not sure. I'm on the fence a little bit here. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever live in London. So maybe I made the right choice, by not moving to London earlier in my life. All right, let's do one final question. Let's have a look as I scan them, because they're all quite generic. I might have to change these questions when I use them in class, because all of them are very generic. I need to customize them. So, what I'm going to do is some more third conditional questions. I'm winging it. I'm improvising. I'm making it up as I go along. So, last weekend, I went to a karaoke place. It wasn't my idea. It was my girlfriend's idea. She enjoys karaoke places. And recently, it's kind of grown on me. I used to hate it, but now I kind of like it. Not gonna lie. And we went on Saturday, and I sung, and I had a good time. But I woke up on Sunday with a huge hangover, and ever since, it's been tough. It's been a tough week because having a late night really takes its toll on me, and it has an effect on me. So, let's imagine the hypothetical opposite of this scenario. Saturday. If I hadn't had a drink on Saturday, I would have stayed at home. And if I hadn't been to the karaoke place, I wouldn't have sung. And if I hadn't drunk and stayed out until 3 a.m., I wouldn't have had a hangover on Sunday morning. And if I hadn't had a hangover on Sunday morning, I would have gone to the gym. And if I had gone to the gym, I would have sweat a lot. And I would have burned a lot of calories. And if I had burned a lot of calories, I would have felt like I deserved to have a big meal. And if I had felt like I deserved to have a big meal, I would have cooked a homemade lasagna. And if I had cooked a homemade lasagna, my girlfriend would have been over the moon. She would have been delighted. And if my girlfriend had been delighted, it would have made me happy as well. Aw, I'm so cute, aren't I? So sweet. So if you're not sure how to practice the third conditional, this is a really good exercise to do. Think about what you did yesterday, last week, last month, when you were a child, and then try to create some sentences using the alternate past, saying what you would have done if you hadn't done something. Do you get me? So to recap, we have, let's say, more or less 5 conditionals. 0, first, second, third, and mixed. And usually mixed is a combination of the third and the second. All of them are really useful, and it's important that we don't use would and if together. So some Americans might say, if I would be rich, I would buy a car. It's becoming correct in the US because people say it so often. But my advice is to never use if and would in the same clause. You should always use if and. The present, or the past simple, or the past perfect. And then in the other clause, that's when you use would, or would have, or will. Do you get what I'm talking about? I hope so. I think I've made my case clear. I certainly hope so. And that's it. Let's call it a day. So, thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast in British English, all related to conditionals. If you've still got any doubts about conditionals that you'd like to ask me, feel free to leave a comment, and don't forget to like this video to help it reach more people. I appreciate all the listens and watches, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. So, that's it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.